It was a time of uneasy anticipation on Earth. For decades, humans had been receiving strange signals from deep space, radio bursts, coded messages, and electromagnetic patterns that suggested the presence of intelligent life beyond our planet. While some experts believed these signals were just natural phenomena, others were sure they were from alien civilizations. The world was divided. Some nations began preparations for the possibility of first contact, while others dismissed the idea, focusing instead on more pressing earthly issues. But nothing could have prepared humanity for what happened next. On a seemingly ordinary day, the skies across the world darkened as 900 alien ships appeared in Earth's atmosphere. They emerged, in a coordinated wave, descending from the stars with alarming precision. Their ships, sleek and otherworldly, were enormous, each one the size of a small city, hovering ominously above major population centers. The sheer scale of the invasion was overwhelming, and the world held its breath, unsure of what would come next. The ships did not communicate with Earth's governments. They didn't send any initial message or demand. They simply arrived. Their presence was unmistakably hostile. Within hours, Earth's military forces were mobilized. Fighter jets, ground troops, and defense systems were placed on high alert. But even the most advanced military technology Earth had developed over the decades seemed insignificant in the face of the alien armada. The ships were not only far larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen, but their weapons technology was beyond imagination, capable of decimating entire cities with a single blast. World leaders scrambled to establish contact, hoping for diplomacy. Emergency meetings were held, but the aliens remained silent. The fear of annihilation began to settle into the hearts of people everywhere. Scientists and diplomats, once hopeful that extraterrestrial life might be a boon to humanity, now feared. They had miscalculated. What had once been seen as an opportunity for discovery was now a terrifying reality. The sense of unity among Earth's nations, fragmented for so long, suddenly began to emerge as countries set aside their differences to focus on the singular threat before them. The first shots were fired just hours after the invasion began. It wasn't a mutual act of aggression, but rather a defensive response from Earth's military, triggered by the sight of alien ships firing their weapons in a show of force. Major cities, New York, Beijing, Moscow, suffered devastating attacks. The aliens' weapons were precise and overwhelming, rendering Earth's defenses utterly ineffective. Buildings crumbled under the weight of powerful energy blasts, and millions of lives were lost within hours. Yet despite the massive destruction, something strange happened amidst the chaos. Small, scattered resistance groups, ranging from military units to civilian volunteers, began to form. There was no official command, no single nation leading the charge, but the fight for survival united people from all corners of the Earth. The realization began to set in. Earth had been caught completely off guard, but humanity had a chance to fight back. But as the dust settled, one key question remained. Why had they come? What did the invaders want? Were they here to conquer, to destroy, or something else entirely? The answers were unclear, but the battle for Earth was just beginning. The first days of the invasion were catastrophic. Entire cities were reduced to rubble as the alien ships unleashed devastating energy weapons with terrifying precision. Earth's military, already reeling from the initial surprise, quickly realized that their technology was no match for the alien armada. Advanced fighter jets and missile defense systems were powerless against the massive alien ships, which moved with an eerie fluidity and struck with deadly force. It was clear that Earth was outmatched. As the invaders continued their assault, Earth's governments fell into disarray. Civilian casualties skyrocketed, and major infrastructure was destroyed. In the chaos, military commanders and leaders from various nations came together to form a loose coalition in an attempt to organize a counterattack. However, this effort was hampered by a lack of coordination and an overwhelming sense of despair. The alien invaders showed no signs of slowing down, and the vast majority of Earth's population was left in shock and confusion. How could such A technologically advanced species have descended upon Earth without any sign of mercy or negotiation. Yet amid the carnage, something unexpected began to happen. A small group of Earth's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, and military strategists, began to notice a peculiar pattern in the aliens' tactics. Despite their overwhelming firepower, the invaders were not invincible. The alien ships, while formidable, seemed to have weaknesses in their defensive systems. Some of their ships appeared to require more energy than others to fire their weapons, and a few ships seemed to malfunction or experience brief periods of inaction. This realization sparked a glimmer of hope. A small faction of resistance groups, mostly made up of military survivors and civilian volunteers, took it upon themselves to exploit these weaknesses. They worked in secrecy, formulating daring sabotage missions and guerrilla tactics designed to strike at the heart of the alien fleet. These resistance groups began to target the less protected command ships, attempting to disable their weapons, systems, and communication hubs. The battles became a delicate dance of cat and mouse as Earth's forces resorted to unconventional methods to damage the alien fleet. Military units mounted coordinated hit-and-run attacks, while scientists developed new technologies designed to exploit the alien weaknesses. Even civilians, no longer waiting for orders from governments or military leaders, rallied together in grassroots efforts to fight back. However, the cost of these efforts was steep. Earth's military and resistance forces suffered staggering losses. The alien ships, though weakened in some areas, continued their relentless assault. Despite Earth's best efforts, entire regions of the world were brought to their knees, and cities lay in ruins. The psychological toll on humanity was immense, as the belief that victory was possible seemed to fade with every passing hour. Yet, even in the darkest moments, there were flashes of defiance. Small victories, such as the disabling of key alien vessels, brought a renewed sense of determination to the survivors. In the midst of the devastation, one thing became clear. The war was far from over. As humanity began to regroup and adapt, the invaders, though still dominating the skies, started to show signs of vulnerability. The tide of battle was slowly shifting, but the ultimate outcome of this war was still uncertain. Would Earth's defenders be able to mount a full-scale counteroffensive, or would the alien invaders prove too powerful to overcome? The next phase of the war was about to begin, and humanity had no choice but to fight for its survival. Dominator. The battle for Earth had been fierce, and the cost of survival was staggering. The remaining alien ships, having suffered significant damage from Earth's resistance, began to retreat. The once mighty fleet, which had arrived with the overwhelming force of 9,900 ships, was now reduced to a scattered handful. The skies that had been filled with destructive energy blasts were now eerily silent. But the silence was not a sign of peace. It was the uneasy quiet after a catastrophic storm. Humanity left in ruins began the slow process of assessing the devastation. Major cities had been obliterated, entire nations had fallen, and the death toll was astronomical. Earth's military, although decimated, managed to regroup and maintain some semblance of order. Survivors, too, picked up the pieces of their shattered lives, but the trauma of the invasion weighed heavily on their hearts and minds. Cities that were once symbols of human achievement now lay in rubble, and the infrastructure that had supported civilization was almost entirely gone. Yet, even in the face of such overwhelming destruction, humanity was not ready to surrender. As the dust settled, Earth's leaders, military commanders, and scientists came together to form a unified government aimed at rebuilding the world. It was a fragile coalition, but it was a coalition nonetheless, and it stood as a testament to humanity's resilience in the face of annihilation. The survivors were determined to rebuild, but they also knew that they could never go back to the world that existed before the invasion. The old way of life was gone forever. But the most shocking revelation came in the aftermath of the alien retreat. A group of human survivors, including scientists and military personnel, discovered something hidden within the wreckage of the alien ships. Amid the alien technology, they found encrypted data, transmissions, recordings, and messages that revealed the truth behind the invasion. The aliens had not come to Earth simply to conquer, but to escape. The message was chilling. The invading fleet was not an army of conquerors, but refugees fleeing their own war-torn galaxy. Their homeworld had been destroyed by a ruthless and technologically advanced enemy, forcing them to abandon their civilization in search of a new home. The fleet's commanders, realizing they were too weak to fight their enemies alone, had turned their sights on Earth, hoping to claim it as their new home. But in their desperation, they had miscalculated. Earth's defenders had fought back with unexpected resilience, and their invasion had failed miserably. This revelation shook humanity to its core. The aliens, though their actions had been destructive and violent, were not invaders by choice. They were victims of their own war. Yet the devastation they had caused was still real. The loss of life, the destruction of Earth's infrastructure, and the trauma of the invasion could never be undone. Even so, this new understanding sparked a moral dilemma among Earth's leaders. Should they seek peace with the surviving aliens, or should they remain wary of their intentions? Could humanity ever trust the alien species again? As Earth began to rebuild, these questions hung heavy in the air. The technological advancements gained from studying the alien ships had propelled humanity forward, but at a tremendous cost. Earth was now more advanced than ever, yet the future remained uncertain. What would become of humanity and the alien refugees who had come so close to destroying everything? Would Earth's newfound power be enough to prevent future invasions? Or would humanity once again find itself facing an unknown enemy? In the end, the devastation was not just physical. It was psychological, emotional, and philosophical. Earth had survived, but at what cost? The battle for Earth was over, but the war for its future had only just begun.